Hello, welcome to episode 1 of Batman's Thoughts. In this episode, we are going to be covering my favorite version of Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman. If you've seen me on Twitter, you know I am a huge SnyderVerse advocate. The main component of the SnyderVerse was Zack Snyder's Superman-centric pentalogy, with Man of Steel, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and a Justice League trilogy. Ben Affleck's Batman was supposed to have a very similar arc to Henry Cavill's Superman. A solo film, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, and a Justice League trilogy. Ben Affleck's Batman solo film was not only going to star Ben Affleck as Batman, he was going to write it and direct it as well. The villain of this film was going to be Deathstroke, played by Joe Manganiello. We all know what happened with the SnyderVerse, though. Warner Brothers chopped down BVS, they forced David Ayer to refilm Suicide Squad, and they brought in Joss Whedon to refilm Justice League. As WB started to move away from the SnyderVerse, we got Matt Reeves directing the Batman movie, to eventually Robert Pattinson replacing Ben Affleck as Batman. So, Warner Brothers was basically moving completely away from the SnyderVerse. But now, Zack Snyder's Justice League is a global phenomenon, and with Discovery now owning WB, they have a chance to really make a splash. And I argue that the Ben Affleck Batman film is essential for that to happen. This Batman film was going to offer something very unique. A Batman film that exists in the larger DC universe. Michael Keaton's Batman. Christian Bale's Batman. Robert Pattinson's Batman. All Batman that really just didn't exist in a large DC universe, but just their own small little Batman-verse. Sure, you have Batman Forever starring Val Kilmer referencing Metropolis, and then you got Batman and Robin by George Clooney referencing Superman. But we don't need to talk about Batman and Robin. Ben Affleck's Batman film was going to be the first to really exist in that larger DC universe. This would have been something very different. And Deathstroke was just the perfect Batman villain for this movie. Because he's not really just a Batman villain. He's fought the Titans, he's fought Green Arrow, he really exists in that larger DC universe. So this would really establish that film in that larger DC universe. Plus, Batman has fought his rogues already. He's been on the scene for 20 years. For this Batman film, it's important for Batman to fight someone that he hasn't fought before, or at least hasn't fought much before. That's why Deathstroke was the perfect villain for this Batman movie. Jay Oliva saw a draft of the script. He didn't say it was one of the best scripts he's ever read, but the best script he's ever read, at least in terms of Batman scripts. Do we really want to see this badass script go to waste? I don't. Warner Brothers Discovery really needs to restore the SnyderVerse to make a splash. We all know about David Ayer's Suicide Squad. That film's made. I'm not even entertaining that one not being released. So let's go to films that have not already been made yet. We all agree that the completion of the pentalogy, Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, is the most essential. But me? I argue that Ben Affleck's Batman movie is just as important as Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3. Why? One particular scene in Zack Snyder's Justice League. The scene between Lex Luthor and Deathstroke setting up this Batman movie. Deathstroke comes in, he wants to kill Batman for free because it's personal. Lex Luthor then reveals the identity of Batman to Deathstroke. This is a major cliffhanger to be left unresolved. Yes, you could try to cram it into Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, but there's a lot going on in those movies. Darkseid, the death of Lois Lane, and who knows what Zack Snyder is going to turn those films into. Do we really want Zack to be forced to incorporate a subplot to resolve that cliffhanger? Personally, I do not. Yes, we have Robert Pattinson's Batman movies, and I hope those do well. But we live in a world where people are hashtagging for Andrew Garfield's The Amazing Spider-Man 3 at the same time that Tom Holland is getting a second Spider-Man trilogy himself. If that's okay, why can't we hashtag for a Batman movie by Ben Affleck while Robert Pattinson is getting his Batman movies? We're not asking for a full trilogy. His arc only consists of one solo film. With BVS and Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3, Ben Affleck's Batman would have a complete arc. Ben Affleck is just the best version of Batman. He's the only one to really capture both Batman and Bruce Wayne really well. It would be a shame for him to just not have a solo film. And this would be a perfect low-budget project for Warner Brothers Discovery. No superpowers, so the effects would be very cheap. But, me personally, I think that film would make $1 billion. Definitely. So it'd be very easy money for Warner Brothers Discovery. I think it's important that we campaign for this Batman film that stars, is written by, and directed by Ben Affleck. Now, Ben Affleck may not want to do all of it, or even any of it. But that's up to Ben Affleck to decide, not us to decide. If David Zaslav comes to Ben Affleck and says, hey, would you like to do this film? If Ben Affleck doesn't want to do it at all, that's his choice. If he wants to do it but not direct it, that's his choice. But that's not our choice. But Ben Affleck came back to do additional scenes of Zack Snyder's Justice League that sets up more movies. So, it seems pretty likely that Ben Affleck is interested in returning under the right circumstances. Let's campaign to get the best version of Batman ever made, or at least his solo film ever made.